Okay, so yeah, I was a little bit I'm a little bit later than I would have wanted to be, but it's better than nothing, I guess. So yeah, this there will be like two streams today, I guess. It'll be the it'll be this one and then like one with my friend later playing A Way Out. Um so yeah, we're gonna watch the ceremony that happened this morning, and we'll also be having a conversation about Remembrance Day and like what it's actually about and everything, as well as a lot of the imperialist endeavors that Canada has been involved in the last little bit, like the last couple years and such. So yeah, let's just hop into the ceremony, I guess. Yeah, so one thing I should uh mention before we like fully hop into it and shit. Um I have actually went through the cadet program myself. I went through air, and I honestly feel sorry for the guys that had to do this. That sucks cuz like I I did a remembrance day ceremony when I was in the program, and if I remember correctly, I think I was holding the Canadian flag. But yeah, no, I feel so fucking bad for the guys that have to do this because it sucks. Like even like holding the flag and stuff, considering that you're there for less time, it still sucks. Like I imagine it's probably not as bad because you're outside where it's a little bit cooler, but I had to do it inside, which really sucked. So I just wanted to clarify that. A bunch of nerds. Oh. All right, I'm kind of curious to see what the like this is the Ottawa service. It's gonna be interesting to see how this year compares to last year. At least we don't have to worry about a bunch of fucking hogs like threatening like veterans and shit and calling them like fucking traitors and whatever. Because that did happen last year. It was fucking disgusting. You know, for a bunch of people who claim to care about, you know, the veterans and shit, they fucking threatened like a lot of the veterans and shit on fucking Remembrance Day last year. So there's that. Damn, bro. Fairly loud. All things considered. That's kind of impressive, not gonna lie. Ugh. Like things are gonna get started.
Remembrance Day Parade! Standards! East! Attention!
How long is it gonna take for the officers? Then not not too long. I love our fucking goofy hats, man. I was really sad I didn't get to see any of that shit, personally.
That you've given to Canada and the Canadian Armed Forces, and that's why everyone wants to bring information here. Sergeant Prudhomme is a member of my team. He'll be trailing your marching contingent, so if you think back, and so none of you are any longer subject to Dakota service discipline. There are chairs on the margin of your parade area on the monument, and those are there for you if you so.
I didn't think that they would have a. Well, no, I guess that makes sense.
At the end,
They
if
did
you're so
so
kind, if you so need,
even here as well.
again, the march to the march past.
Kind of surprised that they didn't give any chairs to the veterans. To be perfectly honest, like that. I thought that like they would have done that at the bare minimum.
Veterans, by the left, quick, march.
Oh, maybe they will because this looks like this is the veterans here. Damn, bro, the average age here looks like it's like 75. Oh, looks like someone was out of step. Damn, bro, their lungs are crazy. I remember having to do that. Oh my god. I mean, like, it was like when I was in the cadet program, like it was actually like one of the more fun things to do during parade, comparatively to like just standing there. It you were on you're on the parade square for like the least amount of time outside of like the officers or like the captains and shit. It was great. Even some instances you'd be on the parade square less time than the officers. So yeah. I wonder when we're gonna see the big scary man that all the hogs are afraid of. I imagine probably like after after the march, and then probably like a little bit after. We'll probably be there before the wreath laying. I have never seen a more veteran looking guy than um than this guy. He looks so veteran, man. Twenty 20 that had the limited uh Remembrance Day, I think it was, right? Either 2020 or 2021. I don't remember off the top of my head though. I think it was 2020.
One of our officers in 1917, Flowery was his name, and they made a charge in an area called Memorial, and they managed to go through. I couldn't imagine horses and sabers, and they managed to break through the machine gun.
Wasn't that the last cavalry charge?
Yeah,
They served in World War II. Must have, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, welcome to Canada's National Remembrance Day ceremony. Bienvenue à la cérémonie nationale du Jour du Souvenir du Canada.
I
We
love
would
his
like to
stash
begin by
and beard,
acknowledging
man.
the land on which we gather.
Even the guy behind him has a pretty good
It is
beard
the
too.
traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe Nation. With the lifting of many pandemic restrictions, Canadians are gathering in greater numbers at cenotaphs and memorials throughout the country this morning. Others are watching at
I guess
home and online.
I guess
No
they
matter
did
where,
do
all are paying their respects
a
to the
limited Remembrance Day last
120,000
year.
brave men and women who sacrificed their lives for us in war and in military operations, both at home and overseas. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the raid at Dieppe.
Fuck, it's been 80 years already.
Pay special tribute to the 916 Canadians and almost 200 Allied soldiers who sacrificed their lives. A special flypast of vintage aircraft which supported that mission and a red ensign flag at the base of the tomb of the unknown soldier will reflect our gratitude and our promise to never forget. This year, we also remember Queen Elizabeth II for her military service during the
And the
Second World War,
imperialism that she did
a
too.
dedicated
Don't
wreath
forget about
in her
that. She
honor.
was a very big imperialist.
We pause today to reflect upon the service and sacrifice of our troops in battles, conflicts, and missions throughout our military heritage. We stand today to honor, thank, and remember all those who have fallen in service to Canada. We renew our pledge to never forget. Nous voudrions tout d'abord
we
reconnaître
would like first of all to recognize the territory on which we meet, the ancestral non-ceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe. With the end of the restrictions linked to pandemic, numerous Canadians gather in greater number this morning in front of the cenotaph and the commemorative monuments. Several of you are watching from home or online, but regardless of where they are, all Canadians will pay their respects to the 100,000 to the brave men and women who sacrificed their lives for us in times of war and during military operations abroad and also within the country. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the attack in Dieppe. Today we will pay our respects to the 1916 Canadians and the 200 Allied soldiers who sacrificed their lives. A flyover of vintage airplanes that were part of this mission and the red ensign flag at the base of the monument for the unknown soldier, the tomb of the unknown soldier, and we will keep our undertaking to never forget. And this year we will render homage to the Queen Elizabeth II for her service during the Second World War with a wreath in her honor. And we will take the time today to reflect on the service and the sacrifices of our troops in battlefields, conflicts, and other missions. We are here today to honor all those who fell at the service of Canada and to thank them. And we renew our undertaking to never forget.
Special guests attending the national ceremony this year include the Governor General of Canada, Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Mary Simon, the National Silver Cross Mother, Mrs. Candy Greff, representing the Government of Canada, the Minister of Veterans Affairs and Associate Minister of National Defence, the Honourable Lawrence Macaulay, accompanied by Mrs. Sophie Grégoire Trudeau. Representing the Parliament of Canada, the Usher of the Black Rod, Greg Peters. Representing Veterans Affairs Canada, the Deputy Minister of Veterans Affairs, Mr. Paul Ledwell. The Chief of the Defence Staff, General Wayne Eyre. Representing the Youth of Canada, Eugenia Lee, Moon Leung, Rachel Graham, and Erica Hawk. And the Dominion President of the Royal Canadian Legion, Mr. Bruce Julian. Les invités spéciaux présents à la
Special
cérémonie.
guests today at the national ceremony are comprised of the Governor General of Canada, Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Mary Simon, the National Silver Cross Mother.
There he goes. There you go.
Associate Minister.
Got it.
And the Minister of the Veterans, Lawrence Macaulay, accompanied by Mrs. Sophie Grégoire Trudeau, representing the Parliament, the Usher of the Black Rod, Mr. Greg Peters, and also representing the Veterans, the Associate Minister of the Veterans, Paul Ledwell, and also the Chief of Staff of the Defense of Canada, Wayne Eyre, and Eugenia Lee for the Youth, Moon Yu, Rachel Graham, and also Erica Hoff. And the National President of the Canadian Legion, Bruce Elliott.
Today, we honor our veterans. We are proud to welcome every veteran to today's ceremony. Aujourd'hui, nous honorons nos vétérans.
Today we honor our veterans. We are proud to greet all the veterans at this ceremony.
In the ceremony, there will be a 21
They keep cutting him off.
as well as a fly past by CF-18 Hornet aircraft from three-wing CFB Bug-out.
Okay, like,
towards the end of
as
the
like,
ceremony, we have a second
very anti-imperialist and shit that I am, I do kind of like the CF-18 Hornets though. They're pretty fucking awesome. I will admit that.
There will be a 21-gun salute and also a flyover of the CF-18 Hornet of the 2nd Squadron from Quebec. Towards the end of the ceremony, there will be a second flyover of vintage airplanes, amongst which Harrison Hurricane and Supermarine Spitfire.
We are now awaiting the
Spitfire
arrival
too?
of the Vice-Regal Party. Nous attendons présentement l'arrivée du cortège vice-royal.
We are waiting for the Vice-Regal ceremony to continue.
Ladies and gentlemen, now arriving on behalf of the Government of Canada is the Honourable Lawrence Macaulay, Minister of Veterans Affairs and Associate Minister of National Defence, accompanied by Mrs. Sophie Grégoire Trudeau. Mesdames et Messieurs, arrivant maintenant au nom du
Arriving in the name of the Government of Canada is the Right Honourable Lawrence Macaulay, Minister of the Veterans and Associate Minister of National Defence, accompanied by Mrs. Sophie Grégoire Trudeau.
Bro, where the fuck is Justin? Maybe he's too busy fucking getting harassed by fucking Polyev or some shit. Maybe that's where he is. Ambrose CPAC got a really good position. Bro, they laid out the red carpet and everything, but they didn't fucking walk on it.
Greff is arriving with her husband Greg. Mrs. Greff of Lacombe, Alberta, is the mother of the late Master Corporal Byron Greff. Byron was a member of the 3rd Battalion of the PPCLI based in Edmonton, Alberta. He was a highly skilled soldier and also trained as a paratrooper. He died on October 29, 2011, while serving in Afghanistan. He was riding in
It
an
was a
armored
bullshit
vehicle
war.
when it was struck by a suicide bomber in a car filled with explosives. Byron was the last Canadian soldier to give his life in Afghanistan in the line of duty. Mesdames et messieurs, la mère nationale de la Croix d'Argent,
So the
Madame Candy
National Silver Cross Mother Candy Graff arrives with her husband from Lacombe, Alberta. She's the mother of the Capital Chief Byron. He was a member of the 3rd Battalion that was based in Edmonton, Alberta. He was a skilled soldier, having received a training of paratrooper. He died the 29th of October 2011 when he was serving in Afghanistan. He was victim of a suicide attack by a vehicle that was filled with explosive. Byron was the last Canadian soldier to have died in Afghanistan at the service of his nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, arriving now is Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Mary Simon, Governor-General of Canada. Mesdames et Messieurs, Son
Ladies and
Excellence.
gentlemen, Her Excellency, the Honorable Mary Simon, Governor-General of Canada.
A little bit early there, my guy.
Remembrance Day Parade! Royal salute! Salute!
Yes.
Remembrance Day Parade! Attention!
thought for sure they would have their wreaths with them.
Ladies and gentlemen, O Canada, with members of the Central Band of the Canadian Armed Forces and the Ottawa Children's Choir. Mesdames et Messieurs, O Canada, avec des membres de la musique centrale des Forces armées canadiennes et du Chœur des enfants d'Ottawa.
Remembrance Day Parade, action!
Oh, looks like someone got hurt. That scared me. Did not expect that to happen. It scared me. Oh, man. Damn, bro, reporters are on their phones.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old.
Yep.
Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Ils ne vieilliront pas comme nous qui leur avons survécu.
They will not get older as us who survived. They will not feel the weight of the years coming by. When there will be time for them to rest, we will remember them.
Apu nida chika chishi niwit miam china. E kwanu would chechi inuya.
Oh, the translator doesn't know what he's saying.
Apu ki
Uh-oh.
tuapagu kamamiche muna.
Like, I'm gonna pretend that I don't know what he's saying either. Or I'm not gonna pretend that I do either, but like...
Miam te pishkaniti no kwanito wa tuashkwa kona. Anitam nika chisituana. Anitam chika chisituana.
Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Yeah, so during like the moment of silence and everything when I had to hold the flag lower, I had to do that. Oh, that sucked.
I invite you to take this moment for reflection.
Your arms get so tired from that.
Today, we're honoring the men and women from different generations that serve our country, and to everyone that are on this path. Every sacrifice is written in the cement of the peace of our country. We cannot forget them. As Canada is uniting, let's be inspired. Let's celebrate the ones that gave so much.
This year in particular, we remember the 80th anniversary of the Dieppe Raid and Operation Jubilee. So too, we remember the service of those whose contribution have only now been recognized by Hall, the number 2 Construction Battalion. Aussi, c'est avec une profonde gratitude.
It is with a lot of that we remember our militaries that are in active service, that are injured physically or emotionally. May they go on the path of healing and peace.
We are forever grateful for the families who have supported and suffered along with service members. They are a source of strength and care that is indispensable and invaluable. We ask for strength for the leaders of the world and for those of our country, for our sovereign, Charles II, King of Canada, who continues to mourn the
King
loss of
Charles.
his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. For the Governor General, the Prime Minister, and the Chief of the Defense Staff. May they guide us with wisdom during times of both war and peace.
Bro, we've been involved in war for so fucking long for no reason.
Where war continues to rage in Ukraine, we gather to affirm with one another our determination to remove the barriers of division in a spirit of reconciliation. We seek dialogue with one another in all spheres, social, political, and religious, that in doing so, we
Come on, bro.
achieve a lasting peace. May we all strive to continue our efforts to build a better world, lest we forget. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice Party will now begin placing their wreaths. Mesdames et messieurs, le cortège vice-royal déposera maintenant leur couronne.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that they take them out. Bro, what? They made Since when do they make Flanders Fields a song? Ugh. Oh, that's why. That's why Trudeau isn't here. It's going off to Cambodia. A little bit more sense. I love how much the fucking Canadian government is LARPing for fucking uh, indigenous people. It's fucking crazy to me. Yo, let's go. You can no longer sign up for Twitter Blue anymore. That is really funny. The giant flop that was. Ugh. They're laying so many reefs, man. Like 2 more layers. Oh, excuse me. They're still laying wreaths, bro? What?
At the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, when the guns of the First World War at last fell silent, a universal reckoning was in order. What had happened? What had we sacrificed? And most importantly, for what purpose? Année après année, à la 11e
Year after years, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, This is a time for reflection. In this solemn day, we want to answer some of these questions.
The answer is as simple as it is painful. The very best and bravest of our nation, the most courageous of our sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, partners, husbands and wives, mothers and fathers. These heroic souls stood on guard, sacrificing their lives, their bodies, their minds, every last bit of who they were. Nous savons ce que nous avons perdu.
We understand, we know what we've lost. We know what was sacrificed. But for which reason?
At its very essence is for freedom. Freedom, an ideal which to this day is being fought for by brave men and women in too many parts of the world. An ideal that is, to our great despair, becoming harder and harder to take for granted. In the words of military veteran Charles M. Province, it is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech.
I mean,
it is the soldier, not the
I mean, a vast majority of that does also have to come from, like, the ministers as well. Like, we can't just ignore that. Like, yes, you could argue that the soldiers has helped that, but I don't think they're solely responsible for it.
We live in a country where we are able to take this cherished ideal for granted because of those who understood that life without freedom for their
And, like, we don't even have fucking freedom of speech in this country.
people they don't even know
Like,
is worth fighting for at all costs.
ask that for, like, literally any fucking indigenous, like, protester.
We first and foremost say thank you. And every day forward, we must say thank you again and again. For it is in giving thanks that we recognize our national responsibility and our commitment to fulfilling it. In April 1917 in northern France, Canadian soldiers, they stormed through sleet, mud, and fire to capture Vimy Ridge. As Prime Minister Trudeau once described it, they came from coast to coast, Francophones, Anglophones, New Canadians, Black Canadians, and Indigenous peoples, and battled for 4 days to achieve this decisive victory. As a great veteran of that storied battle shares, we went up the ridge as Albertans and Nova Scotians. We came down as Canadians. The story of that battle is the story of each and every one of us. Our cherished soldiers and their families, they are on the front lines. But every one of us must do our part, for we are all in this together. We are all one. We share this responsibility to preserve the sacred ideal of freedom. And focus on this responsibility today as we express our commitment to our beloved soldiers and their families, not by simply saying thank you, not by simply supporting our veterans and their families through words, but rather through action, with our time, with our attention, and with our resources. There are so many ways to do so, so many organizations through which we can fulfill our commitment. Our sacred commitment to support the physical and mental health of our veterans and their families as they return from the front line.
But we don't even do that, though.
Is how we share our gratitude.
A lot of fucking veterans live on the fucking streets.
Clearly declare, we as Canadians are united, standing in solidarity with the brave men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces who have led and continue to lead the way forward. We affirm that just as you, our cherished soldiers, have made a lifetime commitment to each and every one of us so that we can live, love, and breathe freedom, so too do we make a lifetime commitment to you and to your families. May God keep you safe in mind, body, and spirit, now and far into the future. Amen.
God.
Ladies and gentlemen, God save the King. with the Ottawa Children's Choir.
Oh, they fucking
Mesdames et
changed
messieurs,
it.
que
Ha!
Dieu protège le roi,
Oh,
avec le chœur des
fucking.
enfants d'Ottawa.
Remembrance Day Parade! Walmart Path! In column of route! Veterans leading! Move to the right! In column of route! Right! Turn!
Looks like they're finishing up here.
Thank you for your attendance at the National Remembrance Day ceremony. Today, as a grateful nation, we stand in collective remembrance of all who have fallen in the military service of Canada. May we never forget. Please stay in position while the Vice-Regal Party departs.
Yeah, so once this is finally done, we'll watch the fucking videos I have lined up after. And then we'll have a conversation about it as or about stuff as well. Damn, bro.
Nous annoncerons quand vous pourrez accéder le site. Thank you for joining us this morning. Merci.
Ugh.
Là, vous avez amené? Ah, ça me fait plaisir. Moi aussi, j'aime bien mon fils. Yes. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for all your support, too.
You know, always. Merci beaucoup. Et all the best. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Hello to everybody. Hello, my son,
What's going on today? Not really. I guess there is Dougie Ford that got fucking verified on Twitter, but like, who gives a shit about that? Florida and Texas count 99% of their ballots on election night. And we know the results within a couple of hours. They have much bigger populations than Nevada and Arizona, Alaska. I mean, okay, but like, aren't like the Dems like winning like important races within like Nevada, Arizona, and Alaska though? Like, I haven't really been keeping up with the midterms. All that I know is like, there was a giant red mirage where like the Republicans were expecting to have like a gigantic red wave, but it turned out to be like a puddle instead. That's like all I know. And then like the tie. Oh. Yeah, I haven't really been keeping up with the midterms, so I don't really know. All that I know is that the Dems are doing a lot better than expected due to higher amounts of Zoomer turnout. Yeah, that's what I was hearing. I wasn't expect it to be a big wave. I do think that the one race that will definitely have a lot more like a lot more eyes on it, especially in the public sector, is the Walker Warnoff race, because that led into a runoff. And I don't understand how like the Republicans are running a guy with clear brain damage and like pulling out like fake fucking cop badges and shit. I mean, that was like one of the funniest things during that debate though. May have brain damage, but Fetterman as well. I mean, at least Fetterman's like sort of okay. Damn, bro, this was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna check the current stuff and check the midterms now. Yeah, as I thought, the GOP was going to win the House. It looks that way, like currently. The Dems do have a chance of losing the Senate, but I don't know. Governor races are actually pretty close, though. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, America's fucked either way, though. What if it's Trump versus Kamala in 2024? I don't know, I think they're both dog shit, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, I guess that's just the nature of having a two-party system. And I honestly do think that Ron DeSantis does have a very good chance of defeating Trump on becoming the GOP candidate. Like, I'm sure that like, they'll just keep fucking Biden in the crowd chamber if they absolutely have to have him there. I am glad that they are letting him out to play a little bit more, though. Okay. What else happened? Okay, I was popping off. I guess there's Ukrainian stuff. You know, Ukrainians fucking pushing Russia's shit in. Biden's not running again in not running again. That's it. I mean, doesn't that go for like literally like half of like the American fucking politicians though? Like, as much as I like Bernie, I think he's incredibly like old as well, and I don't personally think that he should run either. That is true. Bernie still is sharp though, and he does seem to have a fairly big favorable backing, especially amongst like younger Democrats. I mean, bro, literally anyone can speak better than fucking Biden, though. I just find it really funny how like a guy like Biden can have like any fucking influence in America. That just goes to show how fucking dog shit like American politics is, though. You can have like this 900-year-old guy who's like on the verge of death that they keep alive by throwing him in the cryo chamber every single night, and only like take him out when he's like absolutely needed. Bernie has a heart problem, but it's to, for instance, be okay. I mean, yeah, but like that's kind of expected when you're that old, though. You have a stroke like Fetterman, it can affect your mind, right? Uh, like I'm no expert on the topic for sure, but if I recall correctly, I think it depends on where your stroke is. But like Fetterman is like still like significantly better than like Herschel Walker, who like literally has like no cognitive function at all, and like even failed like the softball questions that he was given. Her attack is different. Oh yeah, yeah, I know that they're a difference for sure. Yeah. Really know. Double check. I mean, that's fair. At least you're honest about it. Don't know till the other day what I meant. Yeah. I mean, at least you're honest about it, so that's always good. Biden's hurt probably pretty good, but he's senile. I mean, yeah, true. But I will defend I will defend like two primary actions that he did. One, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and two, the $10,000 of student loan forgiveness. Like those are campaign promises that he said he was going to do, as well as like those are long overdue for the American people, or just like America in general. Like I unironically wish that fucking Trudeau would have the balls to do that shit here. Like it would drastically improve his approval rating here. It's having a grand old time. Wait, what? No shot. No shot. That is that real? No shot, bro. The fuck is going on at Twitter? Elon is fucking running the company, running fucking Twitter into the ground. I swear to God.
The Victoria Cross, Canada's highest honour for gallantry on the battlefield. And this was the last time a Canadian received one. Lieutenant Robert Hampton Gray, who died attacking a Japanese warship in 1945, days before the war ended. And yet, over more than a dozen years of combat in Afghanistan, not one VC was awarded.
It was always kind of...
Bro, I love how much we fucking use the World War or World War II as like, look, we're not fucking fascist. We fought against fucking Nazis and shit, and yet we still have like incredibly large fascist movements within the fucking West. Like, it's so fucking stupid.
kind of like stuck in the back of our minds that it didn't feel right that nobody got the VC.
For more than a year, veterans have been waging a campaign to convince the Defense Department to review and possibly award a VC to Private Jess La Rochelle, upgrading the Bravery Medal he won for action in Kandahar in 2006. The vets presented a 14,000-name petition to the House of Commons, convinced an MP to introduce a resolution to independently review bravery medals. They initiated a letter-writing campaign that generated 20,000 emails, all of it falling on deaf ears.
As somebody that fought in Afghanistan, as somebody that bled and got shot, I am outraged by the fact that a lot of the guys did not get the proper respect and dues for what they did over there.
I mean, like, regardless of like what fucking veteran that they are, we tend to fuck over our veterans anyways. Like, most of them are fucking living on the streets, and like the only ones that, you know, aren't fucking living on the streets are like the ones still intact and mentally sane. Like, if we actually gave a shit about our veterans, we would fucking we would actually fucking keep their fucking the promises we made to them. You know, better fucking healthcare for them, access to mental health services, fucking access to housing that they desperately need. But like, that should just be the baseline across the board, though. I don't think you should have to be a veteran for that. But like, even if you're gonna LARP as a fucking conservative, be like, oh, we fucking give a shit about our veterans, which they don't. It's like, come on, bro. Like, it's the same fucking shit when they use like children as fucking talking points. Like, oh, we give a shit about children. Like, force fucking enforce like ridiculous fucking rights on on women, bodily autonomy and shit.
And it's quite literally the least they could do.
The Defense Department stands by its recommendations, saying Canadians received more bravery awards in Afghanistan for the size of the mission than their allies, but acknowledge The medals and citations were all lower grade.
It is simply a matter of nobody meeting that absolutely extraordinary high standard that is required for the Victoria Cross.
But veterans and some politicians don't buy that and worry the decision sets a precedent.
Said the Victoria Cross, particularly the Canadian Victoria Cross, is now on
Oh
this
god, you brought fucking you brought this fucking clown on? Come on, bro. He lost to fucking Trudeau. Like, you're really gonna take this fucking loser's word for like anything he has to say?
That really no one will ever attain based on.
As well as he said the fucking Nazi parts out loud too. So there's that.
Afghanistan.
Another sore point for Afghan veterans. Canada is alone among its allies. The UK, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States have all presented top gallantry medals to a handful of their soldiers. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
A living Canadian veteran of the Second World War is becoming a character in a 5-part documentary series being shot in France. His memories of D-Day portrayed on the screen.
License, ownership, and insurance. How you doing, Jim?
Jim Parks is 98 years old. He still drives, still works out.
You're busy doing the abs and all this sort of stuff, and you're busy talking.
And he still remembers vividly the day he, with the Winnipeg Rifles, made the D-Day landing on Juno Beach.
Our boat was hit. We had to sort of...
I wonder if they're gonna fucking mention the amount of fucking indigenous people that we sent overseas to fight in World War II that like got killed and shit. Because we sent a lot of fucking indigenous people over to fight World War II that haven't even gotten like any recognition for like their services and shit.
Swim in, and there's a sand dune. We got there. We look back. We could see some fellows still in the water. We don't know if they're alive or dead.
That first-hand knowledge, a treasure for this filmmaker.
Jim was a special witness. You know, he was there at any place and he saw many things.
Parks and his late brother are characters in the upcoming documentary series on his unit, the Little Black Devils.
Instead of burying that knowledge, he's bringing that knowledge forward.
Pour ensuite affronter les SS.
Parks hopes to be there when it premieres in 2024.
And bro. Yeah. Now let's like Remembrance Day is just like a fucking day to LARP and be like, we actually give a shit about veterans and shit. Oh wait, this is Australian. What the fuck? What did I find? Like the weirdest shit. You guys still want to watch this?
Each year in November, you may have seen
Fuck it, we're watching it.
red poppies worn on people's shirts or shown on TV. Do you know what they are used to commemorate? They are a symbol of Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day is the commemoration of the end of World War I in 1918. But what's the story behind Remembrance Day? It all began with World War I, also known as the Great War, which started in 1914.
I didn't even know Australia was in fucking World War I, to be perfectly honest. Like I even knew, like I knew that we were fucking involved in World War One like a little bit, like mostly a fucking thing.
It began when a bunch of countries, including Britain, France, and Russia, went to war against Germany and Austria-Hungary. Other countries, including Australia and New Zealand, also joined in.
Bro, New Zealand did too? What the fuck is going on with New Zealand?
The soldiers from Australia and New Zealand were part of the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps and were called Anzacs. During the years of World War I, Australia and New Zealand were part of some really horrific battles that saw many people injured or killed, such as the landing at Gallipoli.
I wonder how much fucking money the business has made from World War One.
Which is another word for truce. The signing of this agreement meant that the fighting would stop. So, at 11 a.m. on the 11th of November, the guns went silent after 4 years of continuous war. This was the moment that World War I ended. Because of this, the 11th of November is known as Armistice Day or Remembrance Day.
Bro, they share the exact same fucking day as we do? Get the fuck out of here, Australia. Stop fucking trying to copy us.
Now, you might notice that the truce began on the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month. This is why every year at 11 a.m. on the 11th of November, many countries around the world pause for 1 or 2 minutes of silence to remember those who have served their country in war. Did you know that in 1997, Australia decided to officially change the name of Armistice Day to Remembrance Day? This meant that the day recognised and celebrated any Australian who had served in any war or conflict. Now, back to
I wonder how many like indigenous folks in Australia had to go fight in their wars as well.
red poppies. Why are they so special for Remembrance Day? The red poppy was one of the first plants to come up through the grounds of the battlefields of World War I, making it the symbol of soldiers' sacrifice. Since 1918, red poppies have been made using silk or paper and sold to raise money for those serving in war or those who have been affected by war, a tradition that continues today. During Remembrance Day, there are also many ceremonies held around the world to pay respects to those who fought in World War I. Maybe your town or city even has a cenotaph. A cenotaph is a monument built to honour people who were buried somewhere else. It's at these cenotaphs that people often lay wreaths and where gatherings take place on special days. The 11th of November is a special day to remember those who have fought and continue to fight for Australia. Maybe you can make your very own red poppy this Remembrance Day.
Like some of the most fucking this is like some of the most fucking propaganda shit I've Sting fucking tweeted something about it as well.
In reflecting and remembering the terrible sacrifice of those who gave their life to protect our freedoms, the ongoing sacrifice of those who serve, and our responsibility to care for those who have served our country and ensure that our veterans are cared for, lest we forget.
Like I know he's like trying to play nice and everything, and like not go into like a lot of the imperialist endeavors that not only have we enforced, but like have helped America enforce as well, such as like the war of Afghanistan and shit. But like at least he actually fucking provides like some solutions for what we should actually fucking do for veterans and stuff, uh, unlike the like small amount that fucking liberals do or provide, and uh the like the nothing that conservatives provide. Let's move on to some fun stuff. Damn, bro, that's loud.
Tonight on the Fifth Estate, they come packed with promises.
I will guarantee you that this will change your reality within 3 to 5 days.
Herbs, minerals, vitamins. 3 out of 4 Canadians take them.
Right here I have our liposomal D.
So this is our Bacopa. It's a very potent antioxidant.
It's a $1.4 billion industry with players.
That is also like heavily deregulated as well. Like I if I remember correctly, I think there was like some reports of like supplements and shit having like sawdust and other shit in it as well.
From big pharma to mom and pop. But what is in the bottle?
I go in to buy a product that I believe in, that I care about, and I pay a lot of money for. It's not even in the bottle. Are you kidding me?
Could we be taking too many?
Many people are taking too much vitamin D. We can't assume that
It's not even vitamin D, dog.
Could they be dangerous?
You actually can hurt yourself. You actually can increase your risk of cancer, increase your risk of heart disease. I think few people know the risks they're taking.
I'm Gillian Findlay, and this is the Fifth Estate. In the fields outside Guelph, Ontario, Stephen Newmaster is on a quest. He's a botanist at the University of Guelph, part of an international team collecting and cataloging nature, making a library of its DNA.
Nerd.
For Newmaster, it's a labor of love. He believes in the power of nature to heal.
I buy and use natural health products. I believe in them. I've used them all my life. I've used them with my family. We have that anecdotal evidence that you have some ailment and you take whatever the remedy is and it's dealt with.
So it's an irony that his study would shake the industry that makes those products. In 2012, Newmaster and his team randomly selected 44 herbal supplements sold in Canada and the United States and started comparing what was in the bottle to the DNA in their databank.
We looked at the results and I was fairly astounded. It's like, wow.
60% of the products contained ingredients not listed on their labels. Even more astonishingly, 1 in 3 proved to be outright fakes.
What really surprised me most were complete substitutions. That's where there's a product on the label and the only DNA we found is for some filler, like alfalfa.
So they were advertising it as being a particular product and there was none of that
And it
product?
wasn't even in the label. And as a consumer, if I put my consumer hat on, that pissed me off. Because I go in to buy a product that I believe in, that I care about, and I pay a lot of money for. It's not even in the bottle. Are you kidding me?
At around the same time in Long Island, New York, another case was coming to light. And this time, the contamination would hurt people. It started with a woman who decided she wanted to get into the vitamin business.
I started in my kitchen, making them by hand back in the 80s. I would order the ingredients, I would order the capsules, and with a plate of 100 capsules, I would weigh it out and fill them up. And you have a bottle of 100 capsules of any particular vitamin you wanted.
Do you have
background in pharmacology or medicine or any expertise in this area?
I did some college, but most of my time was spent in the medical libraries at Stony Brook.
So you sort of were self-taught then, were you?
Self-taught, correct, yes.
Candace Tripp called her company Purity First. The vitamin formulations were developed by her ex-husband, a chiropractor. And what was his academic background or expertise in this area?
He was a chemist. He was a chemist in college, and then he went on to chiropractic school.
From modest beginnings, she grew the company into a $500,000-a-year enterprise, selling...
Oh, are they talking about fucking supplement and vitamin companies and how like fraudulent they are? Like they are. The amount of with like the loose regulations that faces that industry.
Purity First on the internet, in retail stores, and through local alternative healthcare providers.
Uh-oh.
Purity First is a great name, and I said, gee, how can you go wrong? It's what you would imagine that you would want in every single vitamin, that it's absolutely pure.
Vinny Grosso was an early Purity First customer. The vitamins became part of his daily pursuit of better health.
I'm running every day. I'm feeling great up until the October, November, December timeframe of 2012, where I had some very unusual symptoms.
Unexplained back pain soon became debilitating. He then started hearing from other Purity First customers who told him of their own problems.
I'm hearing stories. My daughter is an honor student. She's on the swim team, but she's been thrown out of school for being overly aggressive. I'm talking to a woman who had lost her position in a choir because her voice had changed. I'm talking to another woman who said, I've got these incredible bleeding scales on my head and I can't go to work.
What they all had in common were the Purity First B50 vitamins they were taking. Testing would reveal the vitamins were contaminated with anabolic steroids. By then,
Automatic jail. Sorry. It's the same shit like with what we watched yesterday and like the fucking repackaging of like old fucking moldy food. Like you can't be doing that, bro.
customers had started hiring lawyers. Chris Marr was one of them. And the stories, as horrific as they were, started making sense.
Hair growth on a young lady was one of our clients, basically developing mustache, beard. There's something called clitoromegaly, horrible. It's something I was not familiar with, but it's actually the female sexual organs taking on a male configuration.
What?
For the men who ingested these things, they
Isn't that like a fucking trans, like anti-trans argument? Like that sounds like a very anti-trans argument.
develop what's called gynecomastia. You end up with male breasts.
Bro, I have male titties.
Got into the bottles didn't turn out to be much of a mystery.
And I haven't even taken any of that.
Had outsourced production to a manufacturing company that used to be based here. Mira Health Products, it turned out, made more than just vitamins. It was Candace Tripp's current husband, Joe Queller, who confirmed it with Mira's owner.
I called Mike and said pretty much what could have happened. And, you know, he was making the male enhancement pills. And he said, Joe, he said, if they found any type of steroid...
Bro, they look like they are on the cusp of getting a divorce. Like, the only thing that's actually keeping them, their fucking, marriage afloat is, like, their really shitty sex life. Like, he's probably clearly suffering from, like, erectile dysfunction and shit. And he thinks that the miracle pills are gonna fucking make his marriage go back together.
In there, the only thing I could possibly think is maybe the mixer was not cleaned enough.
Some vitamins manufactured here on Long Island are triggering.
The FDA recently issued a recall after steroids were found.
Mira, it was revealed, had a history of manufacturing violations. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration would eventually shut the company down.
What? The American government actually doing something? That's surprising, man. I am very surprised by that.
As for
Maybe it's
purity
because they were
first,
caught.
The FDA demanded the vitamins be recalled, but that would take nearly 6 months. What it all revealed was how little oversight there is of an industry that affects so many.
I was very concerned, and then I realized that this whole industry needs change. And how much danger we're all in, not just from Purity First likely, but from others that can put anything into these little bottles and put a seal and a label on it.
When we come back, when it comes to supplements, how much is too much? Can they actually cause harm?
Yes.
You actually can hurt yourself. You actually can increase your risk of cancer, increase your risk of heart disease.
Bro, that's like saying, like, you know, if you fucking, like, yeah, of course, like, everything is fucking bad for you. Like, even fucking water is bad for you. You can, like, either drown or fucking, get poisoned from it. But that's, like, very, very, like, unfucking likely.
Disease, I think few people know the risks they're taking.
In Canada today, there are more than 27,000 natural health products licensed for sale. Purveyors from pharmacies to health food stores to international chains. GNC, the largest, has 200 stores across Canada with plans for more.
It's a great, big, beautiful day.
Omega-3 is essential for good health.
Our screens blare advice on how supplements can make us healthier.
Supplements. I get this question all the time. I only take 4 pills.
Reputations and fortunes have been built on dispensing that advice.
The leading nutritional experts agree that everyone should be taking a multivitamin, multimineral product.
But amid the hype, what's often lost is the science that increasingly warns what we're taking to feel healthy might actually be doing us harm.
When people walk into the dietary supplement or vitamin store, they think that everything is just perfectly safe.
Dr. Paul Ovid.
But, like, we know that that's not true. Like, there's been, like, hasn't there been, like, a history of, like, a lot of vitamin companies, like, lying about, like, what's in their products and, like, and all that? It's the same shit with, like, even food, right? If they're making a fucking profit and they don't get caught, like, of course they're gonna keep fucking doing it.
Is an infectious disease specialist and best-selling author. His book, Do You Believe in Magic?, questions whether we're taking too many supplements, starting with vitamins.
I mean, you need vitamins to live. The question is, do you get enough in food? And I think the answer to that question is yes. But now there are studies done showing if you take a megavitamin, you actually can hurt yourself. You actually can increase your risk of cancer, increase your risk of heart disease. I think few people know the risks they're taking.
And how do you know what's too much?
Here's how you know what's too much. You shouldn't bypass the satiety level. Your stomach is only so big for a reason.
He illustrates the point with 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. That's one of these tablets. But consider this. The vitamin C in that one tablet is equal to not 1, not 2, but between 7 and 8 entire
Holy
cantaloupes.
fuck, man.
You're not meant to.
Man, people are fucking crazy. Like, I like cantaloupe, but I wouldn't eat that much fucking cantaloupe.
To eat 8 cantaloupes. It's a dangerous thing to do, to go against what nature intends.
It's even worse, he says, with vitamin E. This capsule contains 1,000 international units. You can also find vitamin E naturally in almonds. But to get the same amount, you'd have to eat a lot of almonds 1,670 to be precise.
Yeah, and then you have these people who are like popping them like they're fucking candies. Like, it's fucking wild.
Scientific studies have shown that too much vitamin E can be dangerous, especially to men.
If you take large quantities of vitamin E as a supplement, you clearly and definitively increase your risk of prostate cancer. And in a better world, in a regulated world, where vitamin E, a regulated product, it should have a black box warning on it that says just that.
Vitamins E and C are antioxidants. For years, we've been drawn to them because antioxidants are the mortal enemy of free radicals, cells linked to cancer and other diseases.
And in return, they get cancer themselves.
People, for example, who eat diets rich in fruits, rich in vegetables that contain antioxidants, they do seem to live longer and have lesser rates of cancer and heart disease. So the thinking was great. Okay, now we figured out a way to make ourselves healthier. Now let's double down and take even larger quantities of antioxidants, and that's where we cross the line. And now study after study shows that, in fact, it's true. You can take too much in the way of antioxidants.
But that message hasn't reached the public, even though it appears the scientific world has reached consensus. In 2013, the Annals of Internal Medicine published an editorial. Enough is enough, argued. The case is closed. Supplementing the diet of well-nourished adults with most mineral or vitamin supplements has no clear benefit and might even be harmful.
This is what happens when you deregulate industries, as well as industries covering up the research by a vast amounts of propaganda in order to sell their fucking products.
So what about vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin? Next to multivitamins, it's the top-selling vitamin out there, promoted by everyone from family doctors to those on TV, like Dr. Mehmet Oz.
I mean, like, the only people that should be taking vitamin D are like fucking Redditors. Like, they don't go outside and touch grass. So they should be taking vitamin D supplements, but like literally anyone else who like actually is like a normal human being, they don't even need to take vitamin D. It's only like the fucking Redditors that need it.
One vitamin to push to everybody to think about again in their lives is vitamin D.
It's true we do all need some vitamin D. Health Canada, like U.S. authorities, recommends adults get 600 international units a day. But look at the doses some are pushing.
For most of my patients, I've recommended 5,000 IUs daily.
What?
Be perfect. When people are initially really low.
On this Canadian website, I answered 3 questions: my height, my weight, and my age, and was told I needed 10,000 international units a day.
Holy hell.
16 times what Health Canada recommends. That advice came
automatic
from
red
this
flag.
Health Research Foundation in Calgary. Pure North Synergy, a non-profit enterprise, is on a mission to improve Canadians' health by, among other things, increasing our levels of vitamin D.
Okay, so vitamin D, do you want to take that right now? Okay. Yes, and that will boost your vitamin D level.
Here, they test blood levels and say none of their participants has ever been harmed by taking more vitamin D. They believe Health Canada made a mistake in calculating the daily amounts it recommends. They base that largely on a study by an Alberta epidemiologist. For its part,
Okay, the study's coming from Alberta, automatic red flag. Like, I'm sorry, but like literally anything that comes from Alberta is an automatic L. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like any fucking policies or politics or like any sort of research. Alberta's a shithole with a big bridge. That's all it is.
Canada and the U.S. Institute of Medicine have rejected that Alberta study, but Pure North continues to disagree.
Those recommendations that Health Canada makes are a blanket recommendation, and what they assume is that the population is healthy.
That's the problem, says nutritional scientist Samantha Kimball, head of Pure North's research department.
We know that 60% of the population is overweight or obese. We know 50% of the population has digestive issues, the rates of chronic disease, et cetera, et cetera. that those assumptions just don't apply to our population.
Okay, well, I went onto your website. I went to your vitamin D calculator and I put in my age and my weight and my height. And the recommendation that came out of that was that I needed 10,000 international units of vitamin D. What is the evidence that you can point to say that your numbers are right?
Well, there's plenty of evidence.
She's done her research.
Demonstrates that that level is safe. The other component of that is that in order to reach an optimal blood level, that is the best available evidence demonstrates that 10,000 is what you would require.
Well, first of all, you didn't take my blood level. I did this all on the computer, so you
No,
don't know
that's
what my
true.
blood level is. But nevertheless,
We got him. Got him. She got him. That's a wrap. That's a wrap, boys.
recommending I need that kind of.
As a Canadian, in the winter, if you're not already taking supplements, that's
Your best
likely
guess.
what you require. Yes.
But it is a guess. It's not.
Oh no,
not
it's
science.
definitely a guess. Everyone has a different response to vitamin D.
When I
What?
hear that various groups are recommending 10,000 IUs a day or even 5,000 IUs a day routinely, I really want to say, show me the data, show me the evidence.
Evidence is what Dr. Joanne Manson is accumulating.
They don't have it.
Brigham and Women's Hospital
They don't have it like when the fucking Manitoban provincial government was getting rid of mandates. Like, remember when that was popping off? And like how Heather Stephenson said that she had fucking studies and shit that says, you know, it would be okay and everything, and then, you know, when she was asked to release them, she didn't fucking release them because she didn't have the evidence.
Researcher has collected blood samples from 25,000 people, making her vitamin D study one of the largest in the world. She's comparing disease rates between those who take vitamin D supplements and those who don't. Final results won't be known for 2 years, but already Manson has concerns.
Many people are taking too much vitamin D. The Institute of Medicine also recommended avoiding getting above 4,000 IUs daily because that could be associated with adverse events. Calcium in the urine, which can be associated with kidney stones.
That doesn't sound
high
good.
blood calcium, calcium in the arteries, vascular calcification, as well as soft tissue calcification. And there are now studies that show a U-shaped curve that those who have high as well as low blood levels of vitamin D have higher risks of cardiovascular disease as well as all-cause mortality. So we can't assume that more is necessarily better.
Then there's fish oil, the third most widely used supplement.
Omega-3s.
The omega-3s contained in the oil are believed by many to be essential for good health.
DHA omega-3 in particular is extremely important.
Adam Ismail is executive director of one of the world's largest fish oil trade associations.
There's certainly ample evidence that it helps things like reducing blood pressure, reducing your risk of coronary death, reducing triglyceride levels, your heart rate.
But the science behind fish oil is a little more complicated.
So these are 2 capsules. This is a FDA-approved product. This is a very commonly sold supplement. So
Preston Mason is a Harvard University researcher.
And give it a smell.
It smells a little bit fishy, but not bad.
Right. Smells. You're going to have always some smell.
One of the issues with fish oil is it's delicate. It's extracted as a byproduct from oily fish like anchovies. As the fish get crushed, the oil is exposed to oxygen, and it doesn't take much oxygen to turn the oil rancid.
This is
Gross.
a common supplement for fish oil. See what that smells like.
Oh,
What?
that doesn't smell good. That smells like it's going bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a very strong, fishy smell.
So So it clearly isn't good then, right? Like, no shot, it has to be good.
Simply an odor issue, that would be one thing. But oxidized oil contains oxidized lipids. Lipids are one of the building blocks of cells. Scientists have long known that lipids, when oxidized, may do harm.
So oxidized lipid triggers inflammatory responses within our body, particularly in our cells. And if we ingest oxidized lipid, we can trigger these inflammatory changes that can lead to things like cardiovascular disease.
No one yet knows at what point oxidized lipids may become dangerous. But over the years, studies have shown omega-3 supplements containing high levels of them. In 2002, the industry set a maximum oxidation standard, a voluntary one. And yet just this year in New Zealand, a study found 83% of fish oil supplements failed to meet the industry standard.
It was shocking to see such a high proportion of products that had high oxidation levels. And so we went and actually bought 47 products from the New Zealand market and had them tested.
Well, what was the percentage that you discovered that were not in compliance with your standards?
It was around 20%.
20%? That seems a little bit too high. Like, if it's 20%, that should be alarming, right?
Percent is still problematic.
Well,
from a consumer's point of view, I mean,
if it's truly 20%, then yeah, we would like to see those 20% improved.
But even if the industry improves the quality of fish oil, it won't address the other issue about omega-3 supplements, and that is the growing evidence that they don't live up to their claims, that they don't help prevent disease. 2 years ago, endocrinologist Dr. Andrew Gray compiled all the best studies on fish oil, as reported in the world's most prestigious scientific journals. The vast majority were in agreement.
I think for cardiovascular disease, one has to say there is no compelling evidence that taking fish oils protects against a first heart attack or a second heart attack. And so people who are advised to do that or are doing it are wasting their time and their money.
But the fish oil industry continues to insist the benefits are real. We asked the Industry Association to send us their best evidence, which strangely turned out to include some of the same studies Gray had cited.
What?
And didn't seem to help the case that Adam Ismail was trying to make.
This one says it doesn't appear to reduce sudden cardiac death. The next one, insufficient evidence. JAMA 2012, overall...
Bro, they sound like conservatives and like trying to push like literally any fucking conspiracy theory that they have, right? Like either inconclusive evidence or evidence that doesn't support their claims or evidence that has been disproven.
Omega-3 supplementation was not associated with a lower risk of all-cause mortality. Another journal, 2012, the evidence is not clear-cut and any benefits are almost certainly not as great as previously believed. So that doesn't seem to be suggesting there's an overwhelming amount of evidence.
Yeah, well, I think what you're looking at are the abstracts. And
What?
I brought the studies with me so I can show you the actual data from inside the full papers.
But the conclusions are the conclusions.
Well, but again, those papers are looking at very large areas of cardiovascular disease, and you know, I think
that is hella sus.
that omega-3s aren't important for how your heart functions.
It might be true if you get the omega-3.
That is hella sus, brother. Jeez. I don't know if I trust his studies and shit, because they have to be backed by gigantic corporations and shit, right?
From eating actual fish. The problem is science has yet to prove the same is true for supplements.
We would think that something that's natural, that's essential to normal cell function and body function would have clinical benefits. It just has to be proven. There's a lot of important and noise or promotion, but we still need the strong clinical trials to validate those hypotheses.
So in the absence of scientific evidence for so many supplements, why are regulators so eager to approve them? when we come back.
Because they make a shit ton of money off of it, that's why.
They know that the products are of low quality.
It's all because of the profit motive. That's why. If they were actually fucking held accountable and shit, and didn't get a chance to pay, do their corporate payouts and shit, you know, they would face scrutiny for it.
North America's love affair with dietary supplements came of age in the 80s. Everyone, it seemed, was on a quest for better health.
Of course, it was the 80s.
Antioxidant, it's synergistic with the E.
Fed up with a traditional medical system that too often seemed cold and impersonal, people were embracing alternatives. Science was out, nature was in.
I mean, to be fair though, like, a lot of that has to come down to, like, just a lot of Americans' distrust within, like, a lot of other institutions as well. And on top of that, the amount of profit that Big Pharma makes from individual suffering, right?
And an industry was poised to take advantage.
But it's the exact same thing with, like, the quote-unquote natural cures.
Most natural health products were regulated as food. There was no requirement for testing, no need for manufacturers to prove their products safe or effective before putting them on the market. But some people got sick, and that put pressure on government to do something. It would lead to a battle, manufacturers and believers against scientists and regulators, those with the responsibility to protect public health. The battle first erupted in Washington.
We are back at the turn of the century when snake oil salesmen could hawk their potions with promises that couldn't be kept.
In the early 90s, David Kessler arrived at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, promising tougher regulations for supplements. In particular, demanding manufacturers back up health claims with evidence.
The industry went bonkers. I mean, I've taken on some of the hardest regulatory issues.
Doesn't the industry go, doesn't like any industry go bonkers when like there's like any form of like regulatory action taken against it? Like, there was the automotive industry went fucking bonkers when, you know, they had to introduce seatbelts and shit, right? So it's unsurprising that, you know, they'd go fucking crazy when it came down to like this.
I did tobacco. Tobacco looked easy compared to dietary supplements. What happened was the dietary supplement industry recognized that the standard that we set, significant scientific agreement, would require it, before it could make a claim, to have a scientific basis. And they just couldn't make any claim. And they saw literally billions of dollars at stake. And they unleashed a lobbying campaign that was second to none.
The campaign was as dramatic as it was effective, framed by the industry as an attack on fundamental freedoms.
Hey, guys,
What?
It's only vitamin.
It even got Hollywood involved.
Vitamin C.
I mean, to be fair though, like Hollywood is a very good propaganda machine though. Like it's very good at like making like anything look good, especially like in the forms of like American imperialism or like Western imperialism, as well as like propaganda as well, right?
The appeal for letters produced millions, more mail than Congress received about the Vietnam War.
What?
And it worked.
Damn, bro.
784, a bill to amend the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to establish standards with respect to dietary supplements and for other purposes.
The law that passed was a victory for the industry. In the United States, there'd be no requirement to prove supplements safe or effective.
Wait, really?
Before allowing them on the market.
Damn, bro.
In Canada, a few years later, the same battle would play out as industry and its advocates took aim at Health Canada's plan to clamp down. Among the proposals to regulate natural health products as pharmaceuticals, hold them to the same scientific standard as prescription drugs.
We should.
Dr. Stuart McLeod sat on a Health Canada advisory board that recommended just that.
We should have a single standard of evidence, and we should not be endorsing any products that didn't meet that standard. And we were really talking about the standards of efficacy, the kind of thing that comes from a randomized controlled trial.
I mean, that seems like it'd be fairly important, right?
Was intense.
It's about control and big money. Why, after centuries of successful use of these herbs and plants throughout the entire world, would the government butt in now to tell you that you can't make decisions for your own health, for yourself and your family?
There were letters and petitions, and in the end, the campaign worked here too. Then Health Minister
Unsurprisingly.
backed down.
Unsurprising.
Respect and allow room for Canadians' freedom of choice when it comes to natural health products. The government should not be in the business of micromanaging people's lives.
What?
But unlike in the US, in Canada, there would be some rules. If Canadian manufacturers wanted to make health claims, they'd have to provide some evidence the claims were true. They also committed to following good manufacturing practices. It was a deal the industry still holds up as a reassurance for consumers.
Health Canada has provided us with one of the strongest regulatory frameworks in the world.
Helen Long heads the Canadian Health Food Association.
Before a product even goes to sale, you must provide proof that your product works, that it has quality ingredients, that it's effective, that it does what it says it will do on the bottle.
But what constitutes proof? In 2001, Wayne Friesen...
I mean, when you have like a lack of regulatory action against an industry, you can literally say and do anything, and like have like one study maybe in favor of yours, of your position, and claim that that's your proof.
Winnipeg got into the supplement making business. Today, his company, Innotech, markets 16 products. His biggest seller, a vitamin powder called Cardioflex.
Uh-oh.
Basically, it's an amino acid formula. You're elevating your essential amino acids like lysine. You're elevating that from whatever you're eating in your daily routine with your diet. Okay, so that's not going to work very good unless you have adequate levels of vitamin C. So we have 3 kinds of vitamin C.
So who formulated this?
Well, we worked with a chiropractor, and we challenged the formula. Do we want this in it? Do we want that in it? How are we? Is it going to taste good?
What expertise does a chiropractor have?
No, oh no, a chiropractor, bro. It's like the same shit that chiropractors were, given mask exemptions to kids or to like their patients, being like, yeah, no, my patient doesn't have to wear a mask. Come on, bro. It's always the fucking chiropractors. Honestly, at this point, just lock up every single fucking chiropractor. Just at this point, why not? It's already a fucking pseudoscience anyways.
Cardio health.
Well, there's a lot of chiropractors that believe in the Linus Pauling theory for the nutrients that are missing out of the Western diet.
Linus Pauling was once a giant in the world of science, a double Nobel Prize winner in chemistry and peace, who became even more famous for his theories about high doses of vitamin C, which he claimed could cure everything from the common cold to cancer.
Of course.
He was a scientific hero who was making that statement, and that changed things.
A hero Dr. Paul Offit has famously called arguably the world's greatest quack.
I think when he made those statements in the late 60s and early 1970s, megavitamins, taking vitamins vastly in excess of the recommended daily ounce, became something people thought was a good idea.
And was there science at the time that suggested that he was right?
There was not a shred of science to suggest that he was right. In fact, some of the early studies that were done in the early 1970s showed that quite the opposite.
Over the decades, study after study refuted Pauling's theories. And yet 40 years later, it's still hard to disabuse the believers. Wayne Friesen sells a product based on Pauling's ideas, all approved by Health Canada.
You know that Dr. Linus Pauling...
I mean, at least, like... At least we've seen, like, usage of, like, supplements, vitamins, and, like, and powders going down with time. Like, really the only people that I actually see still buying into this shit is, like, baby boomers, Gen X, and, that's really it. It's just, like, people, like, 40 plus and shit. Maybe some people, like, plus too.
Science on this has been discredited for many years now. That the scientific community has essentially written off Dr. Linus Pauling when it comes to vitamin C and these kinds of formulations and the prevention of disease.
Yeah, there was some press on that with the medical doctors and that, but not amongst the health industry. The natural health industry has embraced it.
In the early days of regulation, Health Canada seemed to be proceeding cautiously, rejecting more applications than they approved. But that created a backlog, and it wasn't long before the government was under political pressure from an industry anxious to get the system moving again.
Of course, bro.
In 2012, Health Canada went on a cross-country tour to hear from the industry directly.
So this was a PowerPoint presentation given by Health Canada.
Michael Cruz of the watchdog group Bad Science Watch attended some of the sessions and kept the handouts. Health Canada was promising a new approach, but the slides revealed problems Health Canada was aware of. For example, 40% of complaints received were about natural health products. 40% of those were about quality.
They say contamination, they say purposeful adulteration.
Yeah, those are all certainly the things that we brought up as well, and supported by loads of evidence. This says to us that they know that the products are of low quality that are getting to market.
It's just snake oil,
and
right?
Yet the solution seemed to be to trust the industry even more. According to this slide, it was up to the license holder.
Automatic L by Health Canada.
For many claims, Health Canada would accept what it acknowledged was weak evidence. It was all part of its effort to make the approval process quicker and clearer. Cruz couldn't believe what he was hearing.
One of the outcomes of that was that you could get approval in as little as 10 days for your product.
Wait, what?
Now I thought, 10 days? How is that possible? But there was
10 days seems like such a small amount of time to get approval from Health Canada, right? Like, why the fuck is it so low? Outside of, like, corporate lobbying.
There was a small manufacturer who stood up and said, 10 days is too long. We
What?
want to be able to respond to what's called the Dr. Oz effect, where Dr. Oz has raspberry ketones, for example, on his show and says, these are the new miracle product. We want to have those products on our shelves within a couple days. And I just thought, well, this is the problem.
In the end, the industry got what it wanted. From rejecting more than half of applications, Health Canada today approves more than 90% of them.
That's a big L for Health Canada. I'm sorry, it's such a big fucking L.
It does retain the right to conduct spot inspections, but it employs just 10 inspectors for an industry that now boasts nearly 800 license holders.
Feels like they should have more.
Back to manufacturers. Wayne Friesen says Health Canada has inspected his factory. No one has ever suggested his Cardioflex has caused harm. But given its roots in now discredited vitamin C science, on what basis did it get approved? Health Canada tells us Cardioflex's ingredients meet established standards for promotion of cardiovascular as well as general good health. And yet, at $49 a jar, Innotek's claims for Cardioflex go far beyond that.
I've looked at some of your marketing, and these are among the claims that you make. That this product lowers cholesterol, it increases energy, it lowers high blood pressure, it improves HDL cholesterol, the good one, it alleviates chest pains, it improves circulation, and it makes you feel younger. So What evidence do you have to support any of those claims?
Those are the not necessarily claims, but those are the some of the things that are reported by our customers who use it over the last 12, 13 years.
What I'm trying to get at is there any science that you have done or anybody has done that supports those claims that you make in your marketing?
With this product?
Yeah.
Well, we're about to do a study with.
You haven't done any to this point.
Right, and nobody has.
But how do you know it's actually effective is what I'm asking.
Well, we wouldn't put it on the market unless it was effective.
Lie. Big lie.
Repeatedly, we asked Health Canada for an interview to discuss all of these issues. Repeatedly, they refused.
Of course they did.
Critics, it raises the question.
Because it make them look bad.
Weaknesses of the Canadian system. Is it really any better than the unregulated system in the U.S.?
There really is nothing.
I mean, it's like not that much different, right? Because if Health Canada allows like 90% of that shit to pass, then yeah, of course it's like not much better.
Different, you know, in the final accounting between the two systems, and that's what concerns us.
So we have lovely regulations on paper, but in practice,
yep,
they're not being enforced. Yeah.
When we come back, what can happen when regulations are missing?
We found the results to be shocking. We found asparagus DNA, houseplant DNA, rice, and other things, but not the product that was on the label.
I mean, that's not surprising, though.
Right here I have our liposomal D. Vitamin
so this
D
is our bacopa. This is an herb that would be great for older individuals that are
oh God.
like chromium.
For as long as there have been supplements, there have been concerns about contamination, adulteration, even fraud. But
Not
few
surprising.
studies have had more impact than the 2013 study led by Guelph University's Stephen Newmaster. 60% of products he tested had ingredients that shouldn't have been there. 1 in 3 were fakes.
When
Nice,
we got the
of
results,
course.
I remember saying to my colleague, this is very, very important information, and the public is going to be very concerned.
It wasn't just the
They
public.
probably covered it up,
After
right?
the study appeared in a scientific journal,
Or
it was
attempted
picked
to.
up by the New York Times and read by New York's Attorney General.
Last December, my office purchased a variety of store brand herbal supplements from stores in different parts of New York State.
Eric Schneiderman ordered up his own tests of herbal supplements, which produced even worse
Found
results.
that only 21% of the products we tested in fact had DNA evidence that they contained the product listed on the label. We found the results to be shocking. We found asparagus DNA, houseplant DNA, rice, and other things, but not the product that was on the label. So they were
Unsurprising.
what purported to be ginseng that clearly contained no ginseng. And this is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. And it seemed that there was just a massive fraud going on.
It's kind of like strict regulations on industries, you know, would completely prevent this from happening.
Started by ordering retailers to stop selling the products in question. He then went looking for political support. Today, 14 states' attorneys general are calling on the U.S. Congress and the FDA to finally get serious about supplement regulation. But the FDA's equivalent in Canada has been strangely unconcerned. Since publishing his study,
Not
Steve
surprised.
Newmaster has heard from regulators and industry players around the world, but he has yet to hear anything from Health Canada.
No, I don't recall an email from them, a phone call. We haven't crossed paths in meetings that we go to.
So they've never, this has been published in a major scientific journal, and
I'm waiting, and I'd love to work with them, and I'm not sure how this fits with their mandates and how they could move it forward, the technology.
We asked Health Canada why they didn't act on Newmaster's work, especially since the Americans did. In a written reply, they said they did review the study, but because Newmaster didn't list all ingredients and brands that he tested, Health Canada decided no action was necessary.
What?
So what about the industry? 1 in 3 products tested were fakes? Is it not concerned? Canadian Health Food Association.
That seems like it should be a very big concern,
Well,
right?
I think it's important to remember that there are varieties of testing. I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to the specifics of the testing, but I think it's important to remember there are various methods.
You don't accept the method that was done here, the DNA barcoding?
I'm not suggesting that, but I'm not a scientist. Health Canada has not yet approved that method of testing.
Health Canada may not have approved it, but some in the industry are starting to embrace it.
Take some of the sample and simply...
Since publishing his study, Newmaster has refined his DNA barcoding technology, made it more portable and cheaper to use.
Load it into the machine. Press go.
The giant supplement retailer GNC has now agreed to start using DNA barcoding. Walmart has expressed interest too. And one of North America's largest manufacturers, Nature's Way, recently formed a partnership with the scientists at Guelph in a renewed effort to put quality first. Travis Borkert is a Nature's Way VP.
It is a game changer, right? We started working with Dr. Newmaster and started a relationship which included testing many of our herbal dietary ingredients for identity.
If Newmaster has his way, supplement makers will soon be able to test ingredients all the way back to the source.
It's easy, it's cheap. It can be tested all the way along. And I think that's an appropriate way to solve the problem.
But that still leaves the question of what, if any of this stuff, actually works.
We're using the herb combined with a standardized extract supplement that contains perna.
In the absence of science,
Bro, you can literally say anything about anything, or anything about this stuff, and like, people will believe you, because they automatically assume that's good for your health. Even if like the claims aren't even like, aren't even real.
in the absence of meaningful regulation, what is a consumer supposed to believe? The problem may all be encapsulated in this. Every natural health product approved for sale in Canada is given a number. It's right there in the small print. It's Health Canada's assurance the product is both safe and effective. But critics say it's meaningless.
I think the government is misleading the public in suggesting that they have validated the efficacy and quality of natural health products.
People are spending millions of dollars on these products every year, and most of them have no evidence of efficacy. So they're being duped by a manufacturing lobby that really is focused on profit and not on the person's
there it
health.
is.
And yet people buy, and still they believe. Perhaps there are some things that science will never change.
We love the notion of a magic pill. We do. It's something that makes it all better. It's just too seductive.
And it tends to cause more harm than anything. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Alright, today is as good a day as any to watch the Second Thought video about, like, if the Nazis were actually socialist and whatever. Obviously they weren't. So,
episode is brought to you by Audible.
watch it.
Start the timer.
Oh wait, shit, that's his face? When did he do his face reveal, man? I didn't even know he did a face reveal. Let's go.
Like 20 minutes tops.
Glad to see him more on camera.
Communism, corporatism, fascism, Nazism, the Great Depression, German politics under the Weimar Republic, the Third Reich, and of course, Hitler. So we genuinely have no time to spare. This video won't cover every aspect of the Nazi regime, that'd be impossible, but rather make a pretty limited argument with as much evidence as I can fit in this video. That argument is that the Nazis were not socialists.
They weren't.
Let's jump in. There's a good chance
They weren't considering that, you know, they
heard that the Nazis were socialists.
They're not considering the fact that they you know, literally fucking killed and threw socialist, communist, anarchists into concentration camps, as well as like disabled people and queer people, and you know, there's that aspect of it too. Like, I would be fucking hella thrown in there. I was alive in Germany at that time.
They were not. But that hasn't stopped Crowder from saying it before, nor does it stop...
I mean, to be fair, though, Steven Crowder is a moron.
Shapiro, and D'Souza even got to say it on PragerU.
Uh-oh.
And as much as that would make it seem like this take is limited to online dweebs, real-life dweebs are just as guilty. Somehow, this take has made its way to Congress,
National Socialist German Workers' Party,
and the EU Parliament, where this happened.
That Nazis were National Socialists. It's a strain of socialism.
He's laughing at it because he knows how fucking absurd that is. Right?
As you just heard in that clip, usually the argument for calling the Nazis socialists boils down to, well, it's in their name. Nazi is short for this, which in English translates to this. And because it says
National Social German Workers' Party. Yeah, uh-huh. Just like how fucking North Korea is communist, right?
socialist right there, this is supposedly enough proof that the Nazis were socialists and that therefore socialism is evil. It's a take on par with running to a public bathroom and snacking on that little blue puck because it has cake in its
But
name.
it looks so tasty.
But there's a lot wrong with this take, and it starts with the problem of definition. Conservatives don't know, or more likely, purposefully obscure what socialism is, since that allows them to...
I mean, it's mostly a mixture of both, right? Like, I would say, like, the more, like, educated conservatives know what, you know, what socialism is and everything, and, like, genuinely try to, like, mislead, like, the public, especially, like, their idiot supporters, being like, yeah, no, it's not. Socialism is whatever I want it to be, right?
Use the term for anything they want. Usually to equate it with the most destructive political regime the world has ever seen. So, let's actually define socialism. Socialism is a society in which the means of production are held in common. Lots of jargon there, so let's clear it up. Under capitalism, our current economic model, the means of production are held in private.
Yep.
Factories, business...
And private and public, or private and personal property are completely different, by the way. So anyone who thinks that, you know, your like, say your fucking toothbrush is private property, they're a fucking moron. No, that's personal property, you dingus.
And all the other industries that produce things and services of value for society are owned by individuals or a small handful of individuals.
Yep.
We call these people capitalists. Thanks to this ownership over the means of production, which from now on I'll just call private property, capitalists get a lot of privileges, namely profit, and have a large degree of authority. They are not elected to their role or representative of society in...
I did actually have a conversation about this, like, entire topic the other day with a family member. I'm like, no, the Nazis were incredibly fucking capitalist, and they had huge fucking enterprises within the Third Reich. Calling the fucking Nazis socialist is such a stupid thing. Just because they say that they are, doesn't make them. It doesn't make them. Like, I use the example of North Korea, like the full name of, like, the North Korean, and, like, or of North Korea, and, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can agree with me on that, you know, they're not fucking this and this, even though that, you know, their fucking party names or country name says that they are. Like, that's so stupid, right?
In any meaningful way, capitalists just own stuff. And that means they can make any number of decisions concerning work, have a privileged social status, and can heavily
because they were very against, like, any, like, they were very against, like, any form of, like, worker coalition, and, like, completely shot it down in Nazi Germany.
Accountable to is profit, and making more of it than their competitors. If capitalists so choose, they can make more profit by slashing wages, extending working hours, or worsening working conditions, and they're just allowed to. The people who work for them, basically everybody else on planet Earth, are usually only able to resist these decisions up to a point. If workers don't agree with the decisions their employers make, it's not like they can elect a new boss or make the decisions themselves.
Yep.
In the balance of power, capitalists are clearly on top. So if workers refuse to carry out their boss's decisions, they run the risk of getting fired, with all the horrible consequences that can bring. Ultimately then, the choice offered up by capitalism is either you agree with your boss, the unelected figure whose primary objective is getting more money, often at your expense, or you suffer the consequences. To pay for shelter, food, and healthcare, you need to agree to the terms set by at least one capitalist and sign a job contract.
Yep.
There is no other option. And wouldn't you know it, there's a whole channel dedicated to the various awful consequences of this economic model.
Who would have thought plugging your own channel for it? I mean, he does do a good job about
Under
it, though.
socialism, individual ownership is substituted by collective ownership. In other words, workers own and operate the factories, businesses, and so on themselves. It's like a union on steroids.
Yep.
Decisions are not made by random individuals with capital trying to get more of it, but rather through democratic institutions guided by the concrete goals of improving people's lives, not simply making the number bigger and assuming the two things go together. In practice, collective ownership can take many forms, like a centrally planned economy, a network of freely associated communes, a system of co-ops, a mix of these things, or even a whole different set of things entirely. There's no one universally agreed upon answer to how this system should be organized, and it's one of the biggest things socialists talk about. One thing is very clear though, and it's that the economy should not be run with two separate classes of owners and workers. The class system should be abolished entirely, and the decisions society makes around work and production should not be guided by profit, but by democracy. Socialism is, at its very basic level, nothing more than this. Either the means of production are owned privately, and it's capitalism, or they are owned collectively, and it's socialism. Honestly, I just went really fast, so if you want a video dedicated to the definition of these terms, here's a good one I like to recommend. There.
Yeah, Azure Scapegoat has a really good video on it.
Wasn't so bad, right? With this definition, we now have a test. To figure out if the Nazis were socialists, we can examine their discourse and their actions, and determine if they supported socialist causes, resisted capitalism and sought to abolish private property, or, on the contrary, if they supported capitalism. But first, the obvious stuff.
They supported it.
One of the first things Nazis did when Hitler took office as German Chancellor was get rid of the socialists.
Yep.
Using as a pretext a fire in the German parliament, Hitler triggered a state of emergency and kicked into high gear his repressive politics against both Jewish people and communists.
And anyone who's at least even a little bit sympathetic towards the USSR.
Members of the Communist Party were tracked down and imprisoned by Nazi police. The party itself was functionally outlawed, removed from parliament, and its members were pushed into either exile or prison. In fact, the sudden boom in prison populations from targeting the communists led to the creation of some of the first concentration camps, filled with socialists before becoming one of the major sites of the Jewish genocide.
As well as, you know, anyone who is like LGBTQ identifying, people with disabilities, you know, that shit too.
Soon enough, this repression of political opponents would go beyond the communists and extend further right to the Social Democratic Party. In the end, both parties that represented labor in the German parliament, whether revolutionary or reformist, were cut out of the political process entirely. All this was part of Hitler and the Nazis' plan against so-called Judeo-Bolshevism, the name of the conspiracy theory which claimed that socialism was nothing more than a Jewish plot to undermine so-called ethnic German society.
Yeah, because they saw them as a bunch of backstabbers, which is psychotic.
To complete this effort, Hitler also cracked down on organized labor. Union leaders and prominent members were hunted down in much the same way the communist politicians were, and were beaten, killed, and imprisoned en masse by Nazi stormtroopers. All trade unions were first occupied, then banned, except for the German Labor Front, a union created and functionally controlled by the Nazi Party. Collective bargaining and strikes were gone, and all that was left of the labor movement was the puppet union the Nazi Party had set up.
You know, this kind of sounds like the shit that Doug Ford was trying to do to CUPE. Just saying. you know, completely barring workers from going on strike and everything kind of seems a little bit familiar.
Which failed even the most basic function of a labor union by bringing employees and employers under the same roof. The whole purpose of labor unions is to be a force of opposition to capitalist authority. Making the two share an institution effectively kills any leverage that workers have, and this was, of course, the point. On top of all this, the deaths and the destruction, the GLF's leader was appointed by the Nazi Party, not by union members.
Yep.
And therefore, the organization heavily tipped the scale towards capitalists.
Yep.
In just a few short months, the Nazis had destroyed labor militancy altogether. But that's not all. You might remember that the Nazis were famous for their book burnings.
Yep.
Unsurprisingly, these same anti-socialist politics were obvious there too. Many of the authors whose books were burned were central figures in socialist politics, like Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Vladimir Lenin, Rosa Luxemburg, Leon Trotsky, and many others.
Lenin was so fucking right in like literally every aspect, almost like every single aspect he wrote about. Like it, goddamn. Like he called that shit so fucking crazy.
A conscious effort was made by the Nazi Party and their sympathizers to destroy socialist literature because, generally speaking, the Nazis were desperate to destroy just about every outlet for socialist politics. All told, these measures are why that famous poem starts with the line, "First they came for the communists." That is just what the Nazis did. They crushed the parties that championed socialist politics, the books that legitimized these politics analytically, and the labor movements that brought these politics into the world by giving workers power. But all these events have been brushed under the rug or presented by conservatives as nothing more than socialist infighting, based on evidence?
True, what fucking evidence?
Socialists are usually not too keen on burning Marx's books or hunting down labor union leaders. And
or, you know, fucking throwing each other in concentration camps and fucking murdering them. No. There's that too.
As a little bonus proof of this divide between socialists and Nazis, neither the Nazis nor the socialists ever considered themselves or each other to be part of the same political family, something they made very clear by their seats in the German parliament. But since this last point is only a little stronger than the "it's in their name" argument, let's go back to the more concrete stuff. The Nazis were both a tool of German capitalists and promoters of the capitalist economy. It's not simply that they crushed labor power and leftist politicians, they actively furthered the interest of capitalists at a time where capitalism was in a bit of a troubled spot, to put it mildly. The first thing we can look at to make these arguments is the institutional support from capitalists that the Nazis received. In short, quite a lot. German industrialists helped promote Hitler's rise to power in every way they could. Capitalists from some of Germany's largest economic sectors invested millions of Reichsmarks, upwards of $30 million today, to prevent the Nazi Party from succumbing to its financial difficulties and to help the party win elections. And to bolster their financial support with symbolic pressure, industry leaders also wrote and co-signed a letter sent to Hindenburg, then president of Germany, imploring him to appoint Hitler as chancellor to quell quote-unquote...
Yeah, which was really funny considering that they fucking, like, the Nazis literally fucking lost to, like, a more left-wing party. It was the funniest shit. But, like, you know, this was not okay. This aspect of it was not okay.
Quote, class antagonisms. In other words, large capitalists wanted Hitler's leadership to deal with the rise of socialism. Whether this support was decisive in Hitler's victory is up for debate. But what is undeniable is that it proves the close relationship between the two camps. And this relationship served a purpose. The Great Depression, the economic burden of the Treaty of Versailles, and the various bourgeois governments that ruled Germany under the Weimar Republic prompted more and more Germans to look for an alternative to capitalism. Specifically, they turned to socialism. Between 1928 and 1932, for example, the Communist Party more than doubled its membership.
And we see the exact same shit happening, like, now that happened in pre-Nazi Germany. Like, you know, everyone, like, people are facing uncertain times. They're looking for a different avenue that isn't the capitalist means of running the economy, because people aren't making enough money. They're having troubles like heating their homes, or even having their home, feeding their family and all that shit. So like, yeah, understandably, they're going to try and turn to something that that gives them hope within time uncertain times, right?
People were turning to the left en masse, and at an unprecedented
It's the same thing
pace.
that's happening now.
The Communist Party was still a parliamentary minority, to be sure, but industrialists feared that these trends would continue, and that socialism would come to end their monopoly over the means of production. What's more, German workers had recently won the right to unionize, and secured the 8-hour workday and unemployment insurance. No one knew how far these trends would go, and capitalists couldn't afford to find out. It is in this context that the Nazis and industrialists found common ground, with the industrialists hoping the more authoritarian character of the fascist platform would be used to quell labor, and the Nazis hoping to use the industrialists' funds to conquer power and enact their reactionary, anti-Semitic program. Okay, so far we have two strong pieces of evidence for the capitalist character of the Nazis: the political repression of labor parties and unions, and the institutional support of the capitalist class. That's pretty good. But we can do even better by looking at what the German economy was like during Nazi rule, and how it differed from the economy of other capitalist nations and socialism. Nazis were big on privatization, the process of taking publicly owned companies and services and handing them over to capitalists. To quote a paper on the topic, "It is a fact."
Where have I heard that before? I wonder. Oh yeah, that's right. Our education system, our fucking our healthcare system. That's just two of many different sectors that the conservative government, or like the conservative premiers, are trying to do. And and supporting of like reactionary fascist papers and people don't help either, to be perfectly honest.
That the government of the Nazi Party sold off public ownership in several state-owned firms in the mid-1930s. These firms belonged to a wide range of sectors: steel, mining, banking, local public utilities, shipyards, ship lines, railways, etc. In addition, the delivery of some public services that were produced by the government prior to the 1930s, especially social and labor-related services, was transferred to the private sector. In doing so, they went against the mainstream trends in the Western capitalist countries, none of which systematically reprivatized firms during the 1930s. The Nazis were unique in their commitment to privatize, and the economic landscape that resulted from this process, and Nazi rule more generally, ended up being a particular variant of capitalism. The Nazis ensured that capitalist ownership would continue under their rule, and even encouraged it with the privatizations process. Free market principles still applied to large sectors of the economy, and organized labor was out of the picture, but the Nazis retained the ability to guide economic production when it suited their needs, usually to promote imperialist or wartime goals. This is not unusual. Even the US took the reins on production during the war. But this will often get brought up as an argument that the Nazis were somehow socialists, despite clearly expanding the privatization process and balancing that with the necessity to organize the war. To summarize then, more privatization, some state direction, no labor resistance, and plenty of capitalists. What results is an economy that could only be called socialism if your definition of socialism never addressed the question of private property. In other words, the most basic concern of socialist politics. And if you believe that all socialism is when the government does stuff. A grossly misguided definition of socialism,
which inherently came from more like Reagan era shit. Like it had a little bit of a it had a little bit of like a downfall, but it's been like seeing a fuck ton more resurgence lately, especially now during uncertain times.
that would make every society on Earth, for almost all of human civilization, socialist. Nazi Germany was capitalist.
Yep.
And the Nazis made sure of that. Of course, while this whole video has been making a strong case for the Nazis were not socialist argument, it's important to note a few slightly more valid counter-arguments, and why they don't ultimately change this conclusion. For starters, like all political parties, the Nazis had internal divisions, and it's true that some of the party's notable early members had anti-capitalist motivations, and even disagreed with the general pro-capitalist direction of the party and Hitler himself. However, the reason this fact is not ultimately damning to our greater argument is that these anti-capitalist Nazis were still fiercely and primordially nationalistic and racist, and therefore in contradiction with—
And they fucking wore the skin of, you know, trying to be like, oh, we're fucking we're fucking leftists like you, but in reality, like, they weren't. They would have like the same general color scheme of the fucking Nazis. Like, it would be like a red, essentially like a red rectangle with a white circle with a hammer and sickle in black, if I remember correctly. I don't exactly what it's called off the top of my head, but like leftists saw right fucking through it at the time, and like leftists still see right through it, because, you know, fucking leftists hate each other, and like when something like that comes up, you know, they would actually unite for like once in their entire fucking lives and like shit on those idiots.
The internationalist and egalitarian ideals baked into socialist politics. But perhaps more convincing than a theoretical inconsistency is the fact that these anti-capitalist Nazis all became irrelevant to the Nazi project almost immediately.
Yep.
The few which even existed in the first place were either convinced by Hitler to abandon these anti-capitalist positions, as was the case for Goebbels, or were killed in the Night of Long Knives, early on in the Nazi Party's rule. If the Nazi Party ever had a trace of socialist politics, it was gone by the time it mattered.
Yep.
And the party freely embraced the preservation of a capitalist economy once in power. Secondly, this video started with a long and frankly boring definition of socialism for a reason. I did this on purpose because although Hitler had the word socialism in the name of his party, he also made every effort to distance this word from its original definition.
Yep.
A trick which we continue to see used today to try and associate the Nazis with socialist politics.
And it's not just like it's not just the word socialism itself. It also goes down to other words that are generally seen like in favor by the public, being like people, or republic, or democracy, or other shit like that. People is generally like the second term that the fascists like to use. Like, look at the PPC, for example. The People's Party of Canada is an excellent example of that. You have right-wing psychopaths, you know, feeding a bunch of dumbasses, you know, oh, we are very this, and this, and, you know, we're for the people, and whatever the fuck. It's just like, yeah, okay, shut up, you fucking dumbass fascist.
Hitler wanted nothing to do with the actual definition of socialism, the abolishing of private property, so he made sure the word would only ever mean something else to his audience, whether that was by calling real socialism a Jewish conspiracy, captured in the phrases Judeo-Bolshevism and Jewish Marxism, or to redefine the word into some vague form of—
Or cultural Bolshevism, which has nowadays got reworked into cultural Marxism.
Nationalism, like in the passages I'm putting up on screen. Hitler was intent on socialism becoming a hollow vessel for his politics, a marketing tool that he could use to trigger mass appeal and play up nationalist sentiments without ever delivering socialist politics. Finally, there are plenty of other things I wish this video could have touched on. The writings of Mussolini on the nature of fascism and the anti-communist bullshit that animated it, some quotes on screen right now, the social Darwinism of fascist ideology that legitimized capitalist hierarchy and made a socialist economy antithetical to fascist projects, the reactionary patriarchal, anti-Semitic, and homophobic beliefs that inform Nazi politics, and—
Which is where, you know, which is why they threw, like, members of the LGBTQ, into concentration camps or even like fucking gas chambers as well. So there's that.
Plenty of claims made by the right about the Nazis that completely misrepresent Nazi rule. But with only 20 minutes and a schedule of one video a week, this is pretty much as far as I can go with this massive topic.
So a little bit unfortunate.
Sources are in the description. If you found this video enlightening, send it to a friend or family member who might benefit from it. This is one of those topics that gets covered very badly on TV and by various right-wing personalities. So I hope I've been able to clear it up a bit. I try my best to learn and understand as much as I can so I can share with others. And one way I like to do that is by listening to audiobooks. I travel a lot for work,
Okay.
so I have plenty of time.
Okay. Yeah, we'll probably call it there. We'll probably call it there. We will definitely have a little bit more fun later on today. Friend and I are going to be doing some a way out later, hopefully. So we have that. So yeah, that will be in a couple hours. Till then, we'll see y'all then.